All right, let's talk about something we all deal with, but maybe don't say out loud too often. You know that voice, or maybe for you, it's a few different voices, just constantly chattering away inside your head? Yeah, that. I mean, seriously, have you ever felt that? One minute you're feeling good, you're confident, and then bam, out of nowhere, this other thought pops in telling you you're gonna fail or you're not good enough. It can feel like this constant back and forth, a real tug of war for your attention. And the things we hear in there can be just complete opposites. You might get a thought that's as harsh as, I hate myself, crashing right up against another one that whispers, you are loved. It's so confusing, right? And honestly, it can be totally exhausting. So, what on earth is going on? To try and figure this out, we're going to look at a way to make sense of all that mental chaos. Let's start by just looking at the battlefield itself, all those thoughts bouncing around in our heads. So, this whiteboard here is going to be our guide. It lays out this really interesting idea. What if all those thoughts aren't just random noise? What if they're actually signals coming from different places? And we can learn how to tell them apart. So let's get into how this whole thing actually works. This next part gives us a system for sorting through all those signals. It's almost like we're going to put them into different buckets so we can finally see where they're really coming from. Okay, so here's the absolute key to this whole framework. The idea is that pretty much every thought, especially those really strong emotional ones, isn't random. It can actually be traced back to one of three specific sources. It's just a way to bring some order to what can feel like a super messy inner world. Now, here's how this framework breaks it all down. It suggests that those really positive, life-giving messages like, I love you or you are forgiven, those come from God. Then you have thoughts that come from our own fears and insecurities, things like, no one likes me, or my parents are going to be so mad at me. This framework calls that yourself. And then there are the really destructive ones. Thoughts like, I hate myself, or even incredibly serious and dangerous ones like, kill yourself. Those are attributed to the devil. Now, the point here isn't just to slap labels on them, but to help us realize that maybe, just maybe, the most harmful thoughts we hear aren't actually our voice at all. Okay, so if some thoughts are helpful and others are super harmful, the big question is, how do you tune into the right channel? How do you turn up the volume on the good stuff? This next part gets into the how-to. And this brings us right to the heart of the entire diagram, the big question. How can we hear from God? If those positive, loving messages are out there, how do we actually, hear them? Well, the whiteboard suggests a couple of really key ways. The first way is surprisingly really simple and very human. The idea is that these messages don't always just pop into our heads out of thin air. A lot of the time, they actually come through the people we see and talk to every single day. The whiteboard gives some great examples. It could be through a friend, an adult you trust, a teacher, a pastor, and hey, sometimes even a total stranger. The idea is that a kind word or a piece of good advice from someone else might be more than just their opinion. It could be a message you really needed to hear. All right, so hearing from people is one way, but the whiteboard points to another huge source for hearing these positive messages. It's something it calls the written word. And I love this. It gives it a really powerful nickname, God's love letter. It's a cool metaphor, right? It frames it not as some dry, old rule book, but as something really personal, something written straight to you. And just to be clear, the whiteboard is specific about what this written word is. It's the Bible. And this connection is really central to the whole idea, that this book is a primary way to tap into those loving and forgiving messages we were talking about earlier. So what's actually inside the so-called love letter? Well, the whiteboard breaks it down into two main sections. You've got the New Testament, which is full of letters and stories about the life of Jesus and the very first churches. And then there's the Old Testament, which has all this incredible history, poetry, stories, and prophecies from ancient Israel. It's just a way of showing you there's a huge variety of stuff in there. Now, I get it. Diving into an ancient book like the Bible might feel a little intimidating. So we're going to wrap this up with some modern tools that make it super accessible for anyone who's even a little bit curious. The awesome thing about living right now is that you have these incredible resources literally at your fingertips. So if you wanted to check out this written word for yourself, you don't need some huge, heavy book. All you need is your phone or a laptop. Okay, First Step is a fantastic resource called the Blue Letter Bible. It's completely free and it is way more than just the text. It's packed with in-depth study tools. You can look up what different experts think, check out dictionaries, and you can even dig into the original Greek and Hebrew if you really want to nerd out. It's perfect for anyone who likes to go deep. Another amazing tool is Bible Gateway. The best thing about this one is just how easy it is to use. You can search the Bible in over 150 different versions, from really old translations to modern ones that are super easy to read. Plus, it's in more than 50 languages, which is just incredible. So it all comes down to this. If what we just walked through is true, if the thoughts in your head aren't just random noise but are actually competing messages, that leaves you with a really powerful question. You're the one in control of the dial. So, which messages are you going to choose to listen to?